You might think you know all about parasites after learning about tapeworms at school, but there are plenty of weird creatures out there whose survival tactics make tapeworms look positively tame. For instance, did you know that there is a fly somewhere out there that likes to lay its eggs in people-less size? As it turns out, botfly is actually a term used to refer to the larvae of several types of flies. There are around 130 species of botfly in total, but fortunately, only a handful of these are known to lay their eggs in animals' eyes. We'll get to them soon enough, but first, let's take a closer look at botflies in general to understand where these creepy crawlies come from. And as you might have guessed, they have a different strategy. Instead of relying on sneezes or mosquito bites to get their young into a host, these particular botflies prefer to travel to the eye themselves. Most of these disgusting eye bots belong to a genus of fly called ostrus. Unlike sheep botflies, which target the eyes, nostrils, and upper respiratory tract of their mammalian hosts, the reindeer botfly's preferred method of entry is the skin. But when a reindeer botfly larva crawls into a human eye, things don't go quite as smoothly as they would with a reindeer. Well, the truth is they probably don't even know we exist. The shape and consistency of the eyeball makes it a perfect place for a parasite to set up shop. Since botflies are all dependent on blood meals, they need to live somewhere that is rich in nutrients, but also close to the circulatory system. Click here to learn about a parasite that turns ants into zombies, or click here to watch this video instead. And thanks to all the blood vessels around the retina, the eye is able to meet both of these criteria. It's also a very moist place, and according to one study, the water content of the eyeball is perfectly suited for botfly larvae to develop. Finally, the eye is isolated from the rest of the body by bony sockets. This keeps predators away and allows the botflies to grow in peace. Parasites evolve alongside their hosts, becoming better and better at targeting them. Luckily, there are only around 20 species of botfly that infect humans at all, and none of them are known to transmit diseases. So when a sheep or reindeer botfly larva finds its way into your eye, you can rest assured that the worst symptom you'll have to deal with is a little extra gunk in your otherwise lovely peepers. So since botflies have been around for millions of years, they've had plenty of time to dial in their hunting techniques, while humans didn't become a major part of the landscape until relatively recently. So these flies haven't had much time to adapt to us as hosts. As a result, the reason botflies put their eggs in our eyes is basically just because they're clueless. Their usual targets have eyes closer together on their head, which makes it easier for the botflies to line up a shot, so their targeting instincts are off a bit when they decide to fire their larvae into human eyes. You see, a reindeer botfly larva is shaped like a hook. Its head is a cone with 6 sharp hooks that point outwards, and its tail has 2 rows of backwards facing barbs. With a body like that, it's able to burrow easily through the soft tissues of a reindeer. But humans don't have many large patches of bare skin, so finding an entry point isn't easy. When they do manage to crawl into a human eye, though, the results are still pretty unpleasant. They cause all the same symptoms as sheep botfly larvae, but the irritation gets worse because the body tries to reject the larva, causing even more swelling and inflammation. Unfortunately, because these botflies have hooked tails, they're really hard to remove. So if you had one in your eye, you need a doctor to suck it out. Otherwise, the larva will stay in there for 10 days, growing fatter and happier on your blood diet before it pops out of your eye to start the life cycle over again. And we all know how much fun it can be to have a larva burrowing face down in your pores. Reindeer botflies are found in northern parts of Europe, Asia, and North America, where they typically prey on deer, reindeer, and moose. Like many other botflies, these nasty neuroparasites prefer to release their eggs through vomit. And luckily for the reindeer, their favorite food source, regurgitated stomach contents from their favorite host. When a reindeer coughs, sneezes, or vomits, the larvae are expelled along with it. As soon as the eggs hit the ground, they hatch into first instar larvae, or juveniles, who wriggle around in the dirt for a few hours until they're ready to latch onto a passing mammal. This genus consists of 19 species that spread throughout Europe, Asia, Africa, North America, and Australia. The most famous of these flies is the sheep botfly, also known as Ostrus ovis. Like the name suggests, this species loves to parasitize sheep, but they will occasionally target humans too. Sheep botflies can be found across Europe, Asia, and Africa, with outbreaks occurring most frequently in places like New Zealand and South Africa, where sheep farming is popular. So, what's happening in there? What kind of fly would do something so weird? And why do they choose the eyes as their vessel of choice? Instead, The female sheep botfly likes to hover nearby and squeeze her larvae into a potential host's eye. The larvae are fully grown and ready to burrow into the eye sockets of a new host. Whether it be a woolly sheep or a curious human, each larva takes less than a minute to move from the surface of the eye to the bottom, where it anchors itself to the blood vessels and starts sucking up blood. Now that's not to say that the journey is comfortable. The botfly larva produces enzymes to help it tunnel through the cornea and conjunctiva, and its movement causes swelling and redness in the eye. Not only does this make your eye feel itchy, irritated, and sore, but it can also blur your vision and make you sensitive to light. If left alone, the larva will grow for about 10 days, then pop out of the eye to find a nice patch of dirt to bury in. The botfly will then pupate in the soil, emerging weeks or even months later to begin the process anew. It's true, these flies can sense when a mammal is nearby, and they can judge its size pretty well, too. Female sheep botflies only produce larvae once in their entire lifetime, and since each fly needs a new host every year, they need to make sure they aren't putting their offspring into the eye socket of a tiny mouse, because that would mean the larvae would mature too quickly and the poor mouse would die. So when a female sheep botfly spots a good-sized mammal, she heads straight for the nearest eye and squeezes a couple dozen larvae out of her abdomen, which fall to the ground below. Then she promptly dies. They're technically considered to be part of the family Ostridae, which contains around 140 species that are obligate parasites, meaning that they need to rely on infecting a host in order to survive. Botflies usually spend their time on mammals, including humans, and many species have developed specific strategies for getting their larvae into their hosts. Sometimes botflies will lay their eggs near a potential hostess living area, so that when mom leaves this life, the next generation can begin right away. Other botflies release their eggs via vomit, sneeze, or cough. Yes, these flies do indeed hack up a lung. Once the eggs are released, they just wait around for a potential host to accidentally eat them. Even more gross, certain species of botflies can deposit their eggs inside other insects and then attach themselves to a mammal. They'll hang on tight until the secondary insect, say a mosquito, crawls into a nice warm ear and deposits the botfly eggs directly into the ear canal. Before we go any further, we need to answer a very important question. What exactly is a botfly? Botflies are in the order Diptera, which means they belong to the same group as bees, ants, and mosquitoes. And speaking of ears, did you know that there is a parasite that lays its eggs in human ears? Check out this video to find out why. But finally, we get to the flies that like to lay their eggs in people's eyes. These flies don't like to lay their eggs in the ears, nose, or throat like other botflies. But what happens next is even grosser. But if you thought that was disgusting, wait until you hear about the reindeer botfly. While reindeer are their preferred host, these bots won't turn down an opportunity to infest a human. But the real question is, why do these flies put us in the crosshairs? Of course, this isn't the only reason botflies seek out our peepers. So to answer the question posed in the title, there's not one single fly that likes to lay its eggs in people's eyes, but rather a small group of neuroparasites that are just bad shots. If you enjoy learning about all the gross ways that parasites can infect humans, we've got even more videos for you to check out.